a horror movie thing to do. We're like, oh, look at this character. We're going to relish in this character's death. So whatever, like you're so used to seeing it at this point. But this is just like a gotcha. Like, it's just, what?
Hello, welcome to the HolmFront. I am Tyler, your host, and to my right is my overly artistic friend Mitch, and you're off center, and that's gonna drive me. So there you go.
Well, you
Nice.
didn't check. So
I didn't check that. That is my fault.
It's your fault.
Okay, so we just finished watching a show. What did we watch?
Watched Alien Calf or
No one's gonna get that.
well, when it was conveying the logo, it doesn't do the line for the E, so it looks like a C, and then I thought it was Alien Calf. I had no clue they were making an Alien TV show until like literally yesterday, and you're like, let's review Alien. And I was like, yeah, the old one? You're like, no, the TV show. And I was like, what?
So there was a 2-episode premiere. We just watched both episodes back to back, so I was like, let's...
I'm glad we did, because I have a lot to say about what it was I witnessed.
It was weird.
It was very odd. So
we're frazzled, if you can't tell. Trying to figure it out.
So we're going to do a new style for reviewing shows now. And it's that if we're not sure whether or not we like it, we're just going to review like the first episode or two. That'll be our impressions, kind of like a more longer form trailer react.
Sure.
And so we'll have like a spoiler free section. We'll go over some of the things that it did, some of the things we thought of it. And then about a halfway mark, we'll give you a more detailed synopsis and we'll spoil a few things. But I mean, it's only the first couple episodes. Even if some things get spoiled, it's not that big a deal if we kind of overstep a bit.
And the thing about the new show releases now, it seems like they're releasing like 1 or 2 episodes, maybe sometimes 3-episode arcs first.
Yeah.
And then doing the whole like wait a week or whatever it is now. So
yeah, they're trying to adapt to like, because it's no longer just being aired on TV in the traditional sense. So they're trying to come up with something new.
And I think they're trying to push away from the binging.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
And the filmmakers for this were very, very insistent that this is a new show. It is not like other TV.
Or like Alien. Okay, so let's jump into the synopsis first.
Okay.
This is going to be a little bit difficult because it kind of balances between two things. So the first one is they introduce a couple of concepts with androids and the philosophical leanings that it has, which is typical for Alien.
Especially when you're accounting for the newer stuff like Prometheus and Covenant.
Right. And then there's also a ship that crashes into Earth that has aliens on it, which is why it's called Alien Earth. So it has the horror element, as is normal for Alien, and it has the philosophical element, as is also normal for Alien. And then you have them put together.
And yeah, they don't mix. They're not mixing it well, I don't think at all. It's really weird because there are a lot of moments in this where it feels really strong and I'm like, this is good. So like, I'll just give you an example of like the opening. So the opening scene, you have the people on the ship, they wake up out of cryo sleep and they have this little conversation that basically is just a bunch of exposition for us of like major corporations. Like they literally don't say, like, I don't think anyone says 2 words about like anything that would say something about them, except for one guy has like one offhanded comment about how he doesn't like how they're treated by the corporation. And then they go back into cryo sleep and then they all die and you're like off screen and then it's the ship crashing on Earth. That's it. That's what you get.
And this is literally within the first 5 minutes. So it's really not spoiling anything. It's just this weird intro scene that doesn't feel like it. It feels really out of place. And then it just shifts over and it's like, all right, we're going to start the show now. It's like, I thought you were supposed to start the show when the show started.
And then it follows the androids, that whole storyline. And I don't want to get into that just yet because we'll do that later. But that was all handled really well. And like one of the characters, she's like this really sick child. And so she's having this like kind of existential moment. And so the camera is like following her and you're seeing her like adapt to her situation. And that was all really nice. That was great. But when you're watching the other one, like the filmmaking style is just super out there. Like it has all these crossfades where it's like, shh, you should put crossfades into this. Just be like,
yeah. It You think I'm technologically advanced enough to do that? Also, you're leaning farther away onto the corner again. Get center.
What do you want me to
In
do?
the center. You're gonna drive me crazy. Okay.
Your OCD is coming through.
It's really kicking me. Okay, so within production design, we liked that, correct?
Yeah, the production design is awesome. It looks like the original movie, but like just updated a little bit, kind of like Romulus did.
Yeah, Romulus clearly has a much bigger budget, but this, for what it was doing, obviously did pretty well.
Yeah, I thought it looked really nice. I actually liked cinematography, and I liked the weird. I mean, I like weird stuff. You know, I liked the 1980s
Okay, let's
Dune.
synopsize this then.
Okay.
Just so like we can get out of this first section and we can delve into the weeds. All the individual parts are great.
Yeah.
They just took the puzzle and they put it all together weird.
Yeah.
It's like wrong.
It's like someone's nose is down here on their chin and stuff like that. So you're like, huh. Like, yes, that's a correct nose, that's a correct chin, but not.
It's a nice nose. It's just not where the nose goes. So it's an odd show. And we're about to get into that. So let's just do that.
Okay.
Because I don't really know how else to get into this without being like putting out spoilers. So we're getting into the section where there actually is details and spoilers. So
okay.
For the most part, I think I would probably recommend this show, maybe at like 2 times speed or something. Just like get through it.
I recommend you try it because if you connect with it and you're not seeing a problem that we're bringing up, then I mean the show's going to work for you, I think.
All the Android stuff is really strong. I'd say at least watch it for that.
Yeah, I think it's worth sampling. I'm glad that I saw it, but also like it's just weird. It's really out there. Like the first episode, you know, I was thinking to myself as we went through it, like, wow, the music's really good. Like, in fact, I was like, a lot of these elements, it's like when we transition from one scene or one group of characters to the next, it's really jarring and awkward. But the music was actually helping me get there. And I was like, okay, this is working for me. This is working. All right, yeah, I can get on board with this. And then the credits hit. And it's this full-on like rock song. Like it's just like heavy metal, like
it's like a Michael Bay thing.
That was just so like it just ripped me out. It was just like no more Alien for you, and I was like, oh, sorry, my mistake. What?
All right,
so that was odd, but it's like if I could just like use that as a means of describing like every time it does something off the wall, that's what it feels like. Yeah. Whenever you have like tonally everything's working, and then it's like tone different, and you're like, why? Why did we do that?
Because it's time now. Okay, so one of the things that we've historically liked about, especially Prometheus and Alien Covenant, because I mean we haven't done the original Alien films yet, but these are elements that exist there, and it is the mixture of the philosophical questions that it raises, and the horror elements that it raises.
Yeah,
and how they mix the two, and they're really great, like really, really great, especially in Prometheus.
Yeah,
this one understands that both of those exist in the Alien universe, but doesn't know how. So they're just like, you know what, they're both gonna be here, and so they just kind of like smash them together. So when it starts in paying homage to the early, you know, whatever that is, 73 Alien film. And it does so in a decent way. Like the production design is great. Everyone kind of has this like 70s, 80s style about them. Like the hairdos are all kind of reminiscent of that.
Yeah.
And the sets are obviously all in reminiscence. And they do the same thing. They pull out of cryo sleep. They all, like one guy lights up a cigarette. They all go to the mess hall.
Yeah, and even the crossfades, I'm like, okay, I don't know. I haven't watched 70s films in a while, but I can kind of imagine, like, sure, maybe that's what they're doing. They did some of those shots where it's like that real intense zoom in where it just keeps going in and in and in.
Which is all great.
Yeah.
If you do it right, it's all great. But then they all, like you said, they just jump back into cryo sleep, and then it has these weird, like, flashbacks of horror moments, or like horrific things happening, and you're like, is this flashback? Is this flash forward? And it's really tropey, like really horror tropey. Yeah. And you're like, what's going on? And then it's like, oh, we're done. Just shifts out. And then it goes to this really engaging, really interesting portion of the show, which is where they introduce, well, the new concept with the androids is they're taking this sick girl who names herself Wendy. I don't know what the original name is. I think it was like Marcy or something.
Yeah.
She names herself Wendy, and she has like this terminal illness, and they're like, well, we'll just upload her into an android. And they're introducing this concept of immortality and what that could mean. And whether, you know, if you put a child into a basically a young adult. I would assume like somewhere mid-20s or something.
Mm-hmm.
What that would mean, if she would mature appropriately, or if she would just kind of stay in that state of this like innocence and immaturity.
Right.
And what would be important to her and what she could do in like the superhuman body. And all that's really interesting. They bring up a bunch of concepts and conversations, and there's this child genius, this young trillionaire that's there that's kind of like overseeing it all, and he's like he's like a Weyland competitor, I guess, within the universe. And he's a compelling character, so like all this other stuff gets really engaging. And you're like, who did this? What happened with the first 5 minutes of this show?
Yeah.
And then they try to merge them. And that's where it just gets bizarre. Extra bizarre.
Yeah.
But did you have something to say on the androids before I continue on?
Well, I mean, I feel like I could just get lost in a philosophical discussion about that. I'm like, there's like these parallels they make with Peter Pan. All those allusions were interesting because Peter Pan, of course, like him and the Lost Boys, they don't age when they're in Neverland.
Right.
And so androids will never age, so they're immortal. But then it's like, are they going to mature because they're kids? And that's like another aspect of the show that I thought was really clever, because at some point they send the androids out to like go on this like mission, and it's very dangerous. It's alien, right? So when they confront it, they're kids reacting to this, but they're also androids, so they're immune to a lot of the things that the aliens would do to them. So it's kind
but they're
of
also not sure how to understand that they're kind of immortal to whatever. Like, I'm sure there's no pain involved. I mean, I guess we haven't been proven that yet, but to them, it's just scary monsters running around.
Yeah,
and they're children, so they're just reacting the same way, even though they're basically superhumans. So it provides a lot of interesting, like, comedic moments.
Yeah,
but you're right. Like, they're viewing everything with that immaturity that a child would, because they're all about like the 10 to 12 to 8 range, something like that.
Yeah, they explain that the process can't work with adult minds. It has to be a young mind, or at least that's what their technology
has to be pliable. Yeah,
pliable. Yeah, that's what their technology is currently. So yeah, like all of that, I thought that was great, and especially because, like, if I was making this show, I'd be like, oof, it's gonna be tough if I can make a convincing like horror sequences. And so if someone said, well, here's an idea, let's just make them like android kids, I'd be like, well, that's an interesting dynamic. We could work with that. That gives me something. But then they kind of just don't really lean on that enough. And there's plenty of just regular style alien goodness. Like, I mean, they don't wait at all. It's episode 1 and people are getting like killed by xenomorphs in classic fashion in all the ways you've already seen. And a lot too. It's like a 20-person death count every episode on average. It's crazy. They're just like, just all this blood and stuff
all over the place.
You're like, whoa, what was all that about? And then you like come back and it's like, oh, now here's this deep, introspective, contemplative moment. And you're like, oh, wow. Like, there's this really powerful scene with one of the characters where he's he just goes home and he's like kind of slouched on the floor and he has a projector playing this old movie and he's just watching it. And then it kind of pulls around and it's projecting on one wall, and on the other side of the wall is a memory of him watching it when he was younger with his father, and another one with his sister. And so I was like, at first I didn't understand what it was, and then it clicked and I went, oh, okay, so they're just showing me his memories and what's happening right now simultaneously. That's clever. That's really cool. So it's like this, wow, interesting. And then it like goes back to like the absolute sludge of Alien, not like the refined, like thoughtful, slow burn, like what is this thing gonna do? No, just like boom, it hits you over the head and everybody's dying and getting killed in gross ways. And it was just, I felt exhausted. I felt really drained, especially when the rock song came on for the credits. I was just like, oof, I need a second.
It's like a finish you off, just comes in, finishing blow. Yeah, the interesting thing is, it seems like whomever did this watched through all the Alien movies once and didn't really find all the through lines. He's just like, I think I can do this. And then he just did something.
Yeah.
The thing about Alien, especially going back to the first one, it plays on a bunch of different things. Like we've talked about this, where you don't know who the protagonist is. It kind of follows multiple different people, and then it develops, and you learn different things. Like Ian Holm is the android, and then Sigourney Weaver is the one that actually survives. And also that the alien doesn't really have, a singular form. It kind of morphs. And so you're always unsure where it is and what it's going to do. But the thing that's like classic to Alien, especially within the Ridley Scott products is that he always does this, and I call it a roller coaster just because it's just this real slow uptick and takes a while. But as soon as you crest it, it's the whole rest of the film, you're on that downslope.
Yeah.
And it's just like catching momentum all the way down. And then it, crescendos into whatever it is that, Sigourney Weaver throwing the thing out the window or whatever.
Yeah.
This show is like, screw that noise. We have a bunch of those films. We're just going to throw the xenomorph in immediately. Like, whoa. Because it introduces these concepts, which require slow burn. Like, this requires contemplation. This requires a minute for you to figure out what they're trying to present to you, how it affects the universe, what kind of consequences can come from that, et cetera, et cetera. It does not give you any time to breathe through those concepts. It also doesn't give any time for those to merge into the horror element of the movie. Like, for instance, I guess Alien Covenant would be a good one. Yeah, Covenant. And that's the one where you have Guy Pearce's character talking with Michael Fassbender, and they're talking about the creation, like how creation works. He's like, well, I've created you, and I did it because I could. And Fassbender's like, wouldn't that be disappointing for you to hear from your creator?
Yeah.
And it presents the hypothesis of the film before it continues into the film.
Yeah.
But then it shows you, like, yeah, they did find the answer, but the answer was horrifying. And that's what makes it interesting. It's like he took that concept and he built on it, and then he built into something that you didn't expect, and that's what made it scary. This one's like, yeah, what if they were child androids? But also, what if they went against a xenomorph? Like, well, how does it work into the show at all? And I know it's only 2 episodes in, so maybe they'll have time to kind of develop that out a little bit, but they didn't take any time to allow that to settle appropriately before they just jumped into the blood and guts and all the horrifying stuff that...
Yeah, well, you were saying... near the end of the second episode that it just doesn't understand human emotions very well, because it does this thing where one character reveals something very important between the two of them and the other one's kind of in disbelief. And the way that comes about, you're just like, oh, we're doing this right now? Okay.
Yeah, it's the wrong place. And the reaction is like 5 to 10 minutes delayed. I was like, are you going to react to this right now? And he's like, no, not yet. And then he like moves on, and you think that it's just over. And then he's like, oh, I need to react to that moment. So then he goes and reacts to it. It's like, well, that happened like forever ago. What happened there? Yeah, it was so odd. It was like George Lucas writing Human Emotions.
Yeah, very
it was
Lucas.
Just, you couldn't connect with it. So it's hard to like get involved in these moments. When those are, your grounding moments that are supposed to be within this horrifying universe. So,
yeah.
For what it was introducing, like I said, all the puzzle pieces themselves are nice, but they didn't fit them all together appropriately for this thing to work the way it should have. Also, the editor, I'm pretty sure, was just on some serious drugs.
Yeah, I want to know what he was on. It must be really good. I
was like, what are you doing?
He just like crossfades everything. I mean, there is literally a sequence in this where we were 5 layers deep. It was like we go to a flashback, but then we find out someone's just watching that flashback on like a computer thing. But then someone else is watching them watch it. But then the one who's watching it, the first one, interacts with it and then alters what happens in it. But then the people watching her view that, and then they react and they do something. It's like, dude.
Yeah, trying to keep track of all that in that moment is difficult.
How about just pick someone's perspective, follow that through, make sure that lands, and then just move on. Instead, it didn't want to like commit to that, and it was like, it's kind of like those books where they don't know how to write as an omniscient narrator, so they just tell you everything that everyone knows, and it's like, you know what, I'm fine with some guardrails.
Just follow one person's perspective. That's all I want to connect with at the moment.
Yeah, it was so tonally just all over the place. Like, there's literally this shot, I can't remember where it's from, but I swear I've seen that shot before. Like, exactly, it's like 2 characters talking, one of them runs off, they do a crossover, and then the other's like, wait, and the way they made it look, too, it's like they're clearly CG'd onto the background. So I was like, okay, they're doing that reference on purpose, but what does that have to do with any of these horror elements? And so, honestly, like, if a xenomorph started to sing a K-pop song, that wouldn't have felt that out of place to me. I would have been like, this makes sense with
Just got
everything else
demon
they're
hunters
doing.
on the brain. Okay.
Well, because it was just so all over the place, just like taking a paintball gun and blasting the walls and every color is a different genre. I was like, whoa.
It felt like they had probably 2 or 3 writers, and then a couple people were just shooting the different shots, and then they hand it all to the editor. He just lays out all the clips on the floor and goes, "Eeny, meeny, miny," and then he picks one and just like, "We're gonna put that up right now." It was very disjointed. Because tonally, like, it maintains some consistency.
Within individual scenes, it does.
Right.
But then when you try to connect them together, you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it does this, like, boop, 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 boop. And you're like, yeah, I just want to keep up with something here, man. Like, just one line would be great. Because they don't stick with the main character. And that's fine. I don't need it to just be one character.
Sure.
But at least it would provide some kind of consistency in order for you to just coast along as you're going through all this other stuff. But they don't. And they're within 2 episodes, they're trying to juggle all these other things. Because then you have, I forget the guy's name, but you have this like guy that looks like he's straight out of Blade Runner. He's got this blonde hair, and he's in
Josh Duhamel.
Duhamel, is that his name?
I think that's his name. He's from Transformers. He was the military guy.
Okay. So he's like the head android, essentially. And I think he's an actual android. Great casting. And he's the one that's kind of like in control of all the children androids.
Yeah,
and he brings up a lot of interesting conversation points too. Like he's talking about how humans evolved to not be food anymore. They've become the apex predator or whatever. But he's like, but also there's always something bigger out there. So he's trying to introduce the topic that the xenomorph comes back, and it's like, the apex that humans have to contend with. I was like, okay, that's interesting. But I'm also waiting to see if he's going to try and develop any further conversations, because he's the one that just delivers the hard truth right away. So when Marcy becomes Wendy, he's talking to Marcy before she switches over into the android body, and he's like, yeah, you're not going to be a human anymore. You're going to be an android. And it's important that you know that. And you're not going to develop, you're not going to age, you're probably not going to mature. We're not even sure yet. But you should know all that. Because he's just cold. Like, he's an android. He doesn't have emotions. He doesn't like empathize or sympathize with this person's plight. But he's kind of the through line. He's the one that bridges between the humans and the androids so that they have some kind of, anchor to follow. So he's a really fascinating thing too, but they're trying to juggle that while also, like, at the same time, they're just throwing the xenomorph in every once in a while, just killing a bunch of people, because they're like, well, I think people just want to see xenomorphs killing a bunch of people. And so I'm like, well, I'd rather follow Dumont over here, or Dumal, whatever his name is. I don't want just the horror schlock that this brings up.
Yeah, you said it best. You were like, it feels like they're doing philosophy and horror, and they do the philosophy well, but not the horror well. And that's really weird.
It's a weird problem.
Yeah, like
you'd think it'd be the opposite.
Yeah, you'd think philosophy, that's got to be the real struggle. But no, like those parts are really engaging and really interesting. But then when it gets to the horror stuff, and I mean, it's not like it's just one-off scene that you could just be like, oh, okay, they just wanted to give me a scare to let me know it's a horror show. No, it's invading the show constantly. It's an irritant. There's also like on this ship that crashes on Earth, they collected a bunch of samples of these different aliens. So it's not just like a xenomorph and the facehuggers and stuff. There's a whole bunch of other alien things that they created for the show, which I think is cool. It's like, cool, we get to see new alien things. But then it's just throwing them at me, like just shotgunning me with aliens of all sorts and sizes, and they're killing cats and killing people, and it's just like, whoa, my gosh.
But there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. It just is like, look at this cool alien that's in the show. It's like, okay, but what purpose does he have? Then that was the intro. We've talked about that too. I mean, reference our Alien episode for Prometheus and Covenant. But it's interesting the way that he builds. We say that this thing doesn't quite have a singular form. It kind of changes shape.
Yeah.
First you have the facehugger, and then you have, it's like dropping eggs, and so then it pops out of the chest, becomes the xenomorph, but then that thing grows until it becomes this hunter or whatever. So you're never sure what it is capable of, because at first you don't know what the facehugger can do, but then you see it like pop out of someone's chest. But then when you try and hurt it, it's got like acid for blood, and then it's got this like whip thing. And the thing about that too is that it was this, and this is just a product of its time, I suppose, but it provided some really interesting concepts because Jaws does the same thing, where it has like, it's a big, unwieldy suit. Probably doesn't look that realistic when you keep the camera on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they try and keep it mostly hidden for most of the film. You don't see a whole lot of the alien in the first movie. Same thing with Jaws. You don't see a whole lot of the Jaws because the thing didn't work in the water all the time. And so they had to like really cut down on how much you got to experience the actual monster.
Mm-hmm.
And that increased the horror element because you never knew where it was or what it was going to do, who was going to attack next, who was going to, get eaten or whatever the thing was capable of doing.
Right.
This one is just like, well, we've got the budget and we got the special effects, so let's just throw him in again. I think he's going to kill a whole room full of people right now.
Yeah, like, they paid so much attention to get the look right, the production design, and, they have like these really impassioned actors, and they got like the Weyland Corp figured out, and then like they just rush into the alien and have that killing people. I mean, literally, like, it's not even like 20 minutes in the first episode, someone gets killed by the xenomorph on that ship, and her reaction to getting killed by this thing was she was just like, oh,
it was
help.
so unenthusiastic.
Yeah, it was like,
it was the opposite of that character we talked about that totally gets her friend butchered. Remember the one that runs out and locks her in
Covenant?
Yeah.
Yeah, where it's just like this, she's like screaming and like overacting and just like freaking out. Yeah, she was the total antithesis. You're right. Where it was just like, let me in, huh? Oh,
yeah. She turns around. She's like, I think this is. I guess I'll die now.
Yeah, I was like whoa.
You're not gonna. You're like scared, terrified, or horrified. Like anything. Scream, please scream. Even when she's dying, she's he's like tearing her apart and like ripping her and like stabbing her and stuff. I was like, I feel like this would be a little bit more dramatic if this was happening, but okay, sure.
Yeah, because if you're doing that, so that's why it's like extra strange. It's not just like, oh, we're getting all these horror elements. Oh, we're getting them early. Oh, they're not actually working the way that they should be.
Right.
So it's just like layer upon layer of like, huh? Like, why did we do this? Why did we do this at all? And so you instinctively have a knee-jerk reaction of like, well, let me just take a step back and be like, did we need this? Like, how about do a different approach anyways, which I think we should do. We should do a HolmFront fixes.
We will.
Have to cover first.
To go back to my point, I forgot I was trying to make this. I just veered off.
Oh, did you?
You were saying that they were collecting all these specimens.
Oh, yes.
And all these aliens. I think what they were trying to do was make it so that there wasn't a form. There wasn't a singular one. But they missed the point. The point is that it builds to something. Like that,
yeah.
It's almost like stages where you have the facehugger, then you have the thing popping out of the chest, and then you have the xenomorph that's roaming around the ship. This one, they just have a bunch of random different aliens that really don't have anything to do with each other. They're just on the ship. And they don't really provide anything horrifying either. Like they had the cat moment, I guess, which is kind of creepy. But aside
and then the slugs. That's
right.
Slugs.
But they also don't have anything to do with the alien, with the xenomorph.
No.
So it's really just adding extra stuff in there for extra stuff's sake.
Yeah. Well, they had this huge plant thing. I mean, because that's the whole point, isn't it? Like these things, if you're gonna go that route, like fine. But they should all be in some weird kind of stasis. They should be like the eggs, where it's like it's really uncertain what it is.
Yeah.
And so then it's just kind of like everyone being suspicious and sus and like, well, I don't know about this.
Right.
And then you're sitting there like, ooh, this is uncomfortable. Like we know it's going to be bad. We just don't know how or what or why. So you get to wonder about those questions. I feel like that's such an obvious thing for a horror movie, like thing to do also. Like, isn't that like the premise of every horror movie ever? It's, well, here's the thing that's killing everybody, but the audience won't know this until this point, and then they won't know this until that point, where you kind of space it out. Isn't that what they always do? And here you have a TV show, so you have even more time.
Right.
And it's just like episode 1, scene 1, xenomorph kills people.
Get
and
in there,
like,
baby.
Whoa.
Just make it happen.
So I don't know. I feel like I got to get off this issue, but like it just became such a pervasive problem because it was just distracting from all this other stuff.
Well, yeah, And that's one of the things, like, I'm trying to think of anything else that I want to go over, and there really isn't much, because they just crammed all this stuff into 1 and 2 that distracted from the more interesting narrative. And unfortunately, you'd either have to wait and watch the rest of the show to see if they expound on it any further, or you kind of just give up because you're tired. Which is kind of what we felt after that. I was like, sheesh, I didn't get enough here for me to want to continue, unfortunately. Like, for what's there, like I said, I like all the individual pieces, but put it together, it was just a tiresome watch.
Yeah, it's almost like if they took everything of Alien, that like anything that was ever put to film as Alien, and you put it in a blender and just ground it up, this is probably what you get. Because you have to include like Alien Resurrection. Like, that's a piece of crap movie. That was awful. And you'd have to include like the less good elements of like Alien Covenant. Like, there's some of that really B horror movie stuff with the xenomorph in that one. And this is like, well, we got to include that part too. And it's like, why exactly? Like, why would you need to take those elements?
Sure. Because. Well, do you have anything else you want to talk about on the show?
I want to. I just don't know how. I don't know how to like properly introduce someone and be like, there was this cool interaction, or there was this cool like character development thing, because I know that as soon as I recommend it, I'm also saying that they should torture themselves through what the majority of what I was getting, which was just like blood and guts for no apparent reason whatsoever.
Sure. Should we just jump into HolmFront fixes then?
Please. I'm sorry. I don't know how to help you.
You're fired. And he's not gonna help on the show anymore. Okay. So I'll jump into mine. I don't know if you have any, but I'll just do mine real quick. So what I would have done, given, if they just gave me all the puzzle pieces and I was supposed to sort them together, which is the concept they've got in there, what I would have done, I would have cut out the whole first scene, wouldn't have introduced the ship, I wouldn't have introduced anybody on the ship. I don't care about the ship.
Right.
I would have
all those characters die instantly, so what's the purpose of introducing us to them? Who cares?
I don't care. I would have leaned more into the mystery element. So I would have just cut that out, fling it out. I would have started with the androids. So you start with the concept of baby or children going into an android body, and you kind of flesh that out a little bit more. So more conversations, maybe more it's like training or something, almost like a Blade Runner thing where they would go through some kind of processing and helping them like adjust and figure out the neural pathways, and if they're developing properly, if there is a possibility for maturity, like running a bunch of tests and stuff to really embody what it is that this philosophical concept can encapsulate, let's say. I would spend a lot of time there. I would probably also spend some time introducing the other characters that the show cares about, but only through the eyes of the android. So she's watching her brother, and so that would be a lot of the other time spent from her.
Okay.
So you get the human element from her by her watching her brother, but you also get to meet the brother by her watching him. You don't have to jump into his world. You can just watch it from afar, which is what she's doing anyway.
Sure.
At the end of the first episode, that's when I would just have the ship crash. The ship would just come in, it would crash, and then I would shift over to the brother, and he would get, his call.
He would start off episode 2, getting the call and going out there.
Sure.
Okay.
And then, or I would have the brother go and respond, and then she would obviously want to go and help. So she's the one that's like prompting, we need to go out there and we need to do something. Then the rest of it would be them going through the ship trying to save people, but also something else is going on in this ship. People are dying or, whatever. They're finding eggs and stuff. Like, then you can increase the creep factor as the show goes on and really like slow burn it into something a lot more dramatic.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it. Because the philosophical concept should take precedent, and they should lay a foundation that leads into the rest of it, as is the Alien formula from the first episode ever.
Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
Yeah, I think mine's similar. I like your suggestion a lot. I think I would okay that if that was presented to me and I was a producer. I would say, sure, that could work. The one concern I would suggest to you is that, are you putting too much pressure on just your main character? Because in a lot of TV shows, you're usually following multiple characters, and there's some good sense to that, because then it's kind of like, I mean, imagine just watching like, it's a 20-hour endeavor with just one character. Like, that might be a little rough because you're just getting the same kind of emotional catharsis all the time. So I think it's nice to like vary it.
I suppose to answer that question, you'd have like, is it Dumal?
Josh Duhamel.
You'd have Duhamel's character in there to help balance
That's probably not even his name. I didn't look it up.
Yeah, we need to.
I'm pretty sure that's his name.
So we'd have him to kind of offset a little bit. So he'd be in there having consistent conversations. But then you have the boy genius. And I would flesh him out a little bit more too.
Mm-hmm.
Just to show his influence, to show his like prominent nature on the world stage.
Mm-hmm.
Because like he's a pretty entertaining character. So why would you not utilize him?
Yeah, he was fantastic.
Casting was brilliant there. I mean, so I would have more of that. But you also had the other androids. So she could be like a leader. And then the contrast would be with the other androids and how they're adjusting as well. Like maybe one's not adjusting very well.
Yeah.
And having a hard time. Or maybe one tries to like off herself or something when she gets in the body because it's not functioning appropriately or she's not.
Yeah.
You know, something like that where there's more consequences, a little bit more drama that's involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you add the horror element, right? Because then that would introduce a horror element before you get there.
Yeah.
And then you embody it with an actual xenomorph.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it doesn't have to be just her, but her perspective or her like environment would be where I start rather than trying to jump to a ship and then to her brother and then to her and then to her flashbacks and then her forwards. Dude.
It was kind of like imagine watching an episode of Friends, only all of the characters' scenes are happening simultaneously. So you can see like, you know, through the window or like a crossfade of like Ross and Rachel dealing with something while Chandler and Joey are dealing with something else simultaneously. But then it's not like Ross and Rachel and Joey and Chandler. The Joey and Chandler is actually characters from like The Last Kingdom. So it's like, okay, so you have a medieval style conflict mixed with like some sitcom.
It was like Spaceballs when he watches himself in the camera and then turns around.
Exactly.
It was weird.
Okay, I like your suggestion. I think the funny thing is as you were talking about it, something occurred to me. My initial impression as I was watching these first two episodes, I was thinking to myself, if I was a producer, there's no way I would okay this project like this. It's so jarring. How did they sit through this and think, yeah, that works? And as you were talking, it occurred to me the reason why. They were sitting there and they went, there's no xenomorph. Nobody gets killed in this first episode. Go fix that.
Go fix it.
No one's going to watch it if they don't see a xenomorph. Alien kill human. Alien kill human. Make sure that happens. And so then they went back and edited it up and they said, go. That's what I think that's what happened.
So corporate interference came in again?
I would think it has to because it makes no sense. Like they're so slow, methodical, and thoughtful with all this philosophical stuff. They understand that so well. I'm like, how could you, or like, why would you be interested at all in like even having this stuff?
That's fair.
I mean, there's like literally a shot where the xenomorph jumps out and grabs somebody and then they fall down a pit. Just even say it. It's so ridiculous. Gotcha. And this isn't the kind of ridiculousness like in Alien Romulus. I criticized it because one of the characters, it's like in that movie where he like slashes the xenomorph or something and then it's like bleeding acid and the acid's getting on his fingers, so it's melting his fingers and he's like and I was like, come on, he should react more than that. But at the same time, that was very much a movie thing, a horror movie thing to do. We're like, oh, look at this character, we're gonna relish in this character's death, so whatever, like you're so used to seeing it at this point. But this is just like a gotcha, like it's just, what are we doing? So bizarre. Okay, so
how would you fix it?
So what I would have done is I did the same thing. I'd have been like, you got to cut that first scene. Just get rid of it. It's just get rid of it entirely. And then I would have said, okay, if you're going to introduce all of these characters, then they need to be characters. And you didn't do that. So
that's fair.
I think it would have been best. So I don't know if I would have gone this far because I don't like to. I probably, I'm very frugal, so I probably wouldn't want to spend extra money unless I really loved the idea and believed in it. And in this case, I guess I probably would spend the money now that I think about it, because I do think they did a great job with what the parts that are working. So I probably would just pay the check and be like, I want you to reshoot some stuff. I know that sucks, but like, hear me out. You would spend time and you would have like 3 different story arcs. You'd have one with the android girl and her getting her new body and stuff. One with this crew and they're picking up all these samples of things, right?
Okay.
And we're learning about the crew or whatever.
So you get to see that. You don't just get to see the fruits of their effort, but you get to see them actually going out and collecting these aliens and such. Okay.
Yeah.
And provide some action and stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah, exactly. And then you could do all sorts of fun stuff with that. And I love the casting, even for that. Like, we didn't even get to spend any time with those characters, but everyone looked so indicative. I was like, well, there's the John Hurt character, and there's the, this person or that person. So I was like, you've got it there. Why not just like really own up to it? So you'd have a sequence where they're like collecting a sample on a planet. That's their opening to get us introduced. Then they bring it on board. You see how they like contain it, so that way it's concealed. And throughout the interactions with these characters, you're learning about how they're so content with this, well, actually they would be, different. Some of them would be fine with it. Others would have like an issue, and some would be like, yeah, it creeps me out, but like, we're just doing it anyways. And then they would all be concerned about their personal lives, right? And then you would want to reveal something about the characters where you start to realize someone's going to make a mistake, and there's going to be something unreliable about them. And then you can do that thread where one mistake builds onto a next. It's like, well, one person forgot to turn out the lights, and then the other person slipped up and turning them back on, and then this third person came in and they got killed in the process because of this or that. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I would build up that scenario, and then you can have all these strange aliens, and then I would add a bit of science to that as well. Like, they should be talking about what it is these things are, but they wouldn't really know any better because they're not, the science crew. You could have one science officer on board, and he's kind of doing early samples and stuff and like analyzing the data. And he's the one that nobody likes on board the ship because, he's higher up in corporate, and everybody else is just like, they're doing it because they have to. Anyway, so you'd have that. You'd have all the android stuff, and I would keep them really isolated, the androids. I don't want the androids going out, interacting in the city or doing any of that crap, because it just made it that much more jarring. If you want to do that in season 2, that's fine. But like in season 1, I think they should just stay there. You should stay in conversations, and you should explore like the possibilities. Like you said, like how androids, like some of them, maybe they don't acclimate to their bodies very well, and so on and so forth. And it would work also with that billionaire character. He's super fascinating. So he would be kind of like a sub character you follow within that group. And then you'd probably have a third arc, which would be the brother character who's like a medic, and you're going through his personal life and you're getting a snapshot of what Earth is like. And I don't know that I have a good solution for that one, because it's like without the alien thing, it doesn't feel like it's connected. But I would just do it enough to where you're building up the world and you're leading into it. So he probably works for corporate on some like low level position. And, because it's like it's their private military or whatever. And maybe he's stationed on like a base where they're anticipating getting these samples or something like that. Okay. So that way you can start to pull the threads together. Like, you can see already how they would connect, but they don't connect just yet. And then the season end is when the ship comes in and crashes because things have gone so horribly awry. And like when it's crashed and then the characters have to go in and investigate that situation, that's when all hell breaks loose, and you can have your grand season finale.
Fair enough.
And then you could pull in the android at that moment. She could go in and investigate the ship at that time. Because then it's like, and basically I would just say like your whole season, you're just building up characters. You're building up characters, you're building up world, and have fun with the philosophical stuff. And like you just slow burn everything. And we'll have a nice payoff season finale at episode like 9 or 12, something like that.
That's fair.
Just because like I can't envision it being so fast, except now that I can because I saw it and it was terrible. Let's not do that.
It's so jarring. Yeah, especially because we enjoy that slow burn aspect of Alien, because that's what it's always been.
Yeah, I can't think. It's like, what Alien is fast paced? What Alien movie?
Maybe
I don't even think the bad ones are that fast.
Even Alien versus Predator, it takes its time. Yeah, so totally just disregarded the formula, which I appreciate that we don't need to be formulaic. But understand why the formula is there in the first place with this product. I mean, like that's what made it what it is.
Right, and if you're the ones who are like, again, like we want to honor the past by making it look just like it, well then it should function like it and it should feel like it as well. So like, you would have to be sensitive to that element as well. And they just totally weren't able to do that. The other option is to just play hard metal rock music throughout the whole thing. I would have just said, replace the score and put hard metal rock music. And I would have said that half sincerely because the tone is so off. Like when the alien jumps over the balcony and is like attacking that guy, that's when I would have done like a just
go straight Doom with the thing.
Yeah,
like
yeah, it didn't sound like that.
Doom guy shows up. They're like, all right, exoskeletons are in play.
I mean, it was so absurd. What do you want from me? You're the one who put it on film like that.
True, they did.
Because like you said, they overused it a ton where it's like the xenomorph's in the background and then it moves.
They did it like 5 times. I was like, over 2 episodes, but it was constantly the same thing.
Yeah.
Because you know how you're always like focused, some conversation or something usually, it's focused on a character and something in the background doesn't look right, but you don't really focus on it because you're focused on the conversation, and then the like shadow moves or whatever, and that's the xenomorph. They do it consistently in this. It's like constant. I was like, you can introduce him different ways. Like it doesn't have to be the same way every time.
Yeah,
and that's what it felt like. Is we're like, well, that's how he shows up in the first one, so I guess we'll just do that every time he comes in. Like you don't need to do that, man. If he's already hunting people down and just slaughtering, there's no reason to have this slow dramatic entrance every time. That should be the first time, and that's it.
Yeah,
and then he's just rampant because that's what he's doing. He's like clawing people apart, stabbing and ripping apart.
There are even scenes where it doesn't show any of that. There's a couple, in fact, where it's just like you see close up of someone's face and they're like, like squinting, and you hear like the killing in the background, and it's super fast. The xenomorph just like slaughters everybody like instantly.
Yeah,
and I'm like, the xenomorphs aren't like that. They like take their time. It's really gross and disturbing, but that's part of the horror is that they have this like slow, like aggressive, like they like feed off of that fear and then they kill. And this didn't really have that. I mean, they mention it, but they didn't do anything about it.
Right.
Also, too, people were really dumb. I guess that's just like to be expected. So I don't know if I would really even say too much about that. But there were so many instances like this guy's dragging this like bagged up mold like blob of something, and they're like, "What are you doing with that?" And he's like,
it's supplies.
Yeah, it's not supplies. And then it's like moving around, and they're like, "Well, we're gonna chain him up." I'm like, I'd be like, "What, guy? That thing's moving."
Yeah, we should go right now, probably. Yeah, I was like, because the claw like comes out, and still no one sees it. I was like, how are you not seeing this?
Just
like 12 of you. One of you can't watch the bag? It was weird. And then it like rips out and it just wipes through everybody in like a matter of seconds. Yeah, strange show. Very strange.
This one was honestly kind of frustrating. Because I kind of want to keep watching because I liked the good stuff that was in it.
So you're hoping that maybe they settle into it?
They're not going to, though. Because they invested so much time and effort explaining all of these different alien things, and they're killing people all the time. Just like, why would you slow down now? It would be strange if you did, you know?
It's strange what they're doing, but maybe they will.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, because even when they did the show recap, it was with the opening credits, it was just like flashes from the previous episode, which I liked that. That was interesting, but and now it just comes across as like, we're different.
Not like that other alien stuff. Yeah, I was gonna say I prefer something like the video game where you're on the ship.
Oh, Alien Isolation.
Yeah. But they already did that in the game, so it's interesting that they're trying a new idea. But yeah, they didn't really fully flesh it out before they popped it on screen.
The philosophical stuff is something that I think would be harder to do in the game because you'd have to do it in a different way. You'd have to present it just so differently. So in this, I appreciate that they went in that angle. I especially appreciate it because that's the thing that people really like. This alien fan base is really annoying. I can't stand them because they just want the xenomorph thing. I bet you they like this show. I bet you all of them think it's just the new hotness because it's like every time, like with Alien Prometheus and Covenant, They hated those movies. Everyone hated them because they're like, what's with this androids and like the philosophy? It's stupid. Just get back to the xenomorph killing people. I'm like, well, it's here now. It was always a part of the world. Like, it was always like mysterious whenever they would talk to Mother. You'd have those like weird scenes where he's just like typing on a computer, and it's just that kind of hum of the machinery, and then like the and then like the kind of feedback you get from the AI, and it's just like, it's just, like, that was a cool element of suspense that existed within Alien 2. So it's like nice to see that they remembered that, but then it's like, why can't you just embrace that part? Don't feel the need to like shove a xenomorph in my face.
Trust it with the company controlled by Disney's. There you go.
Which is why I suspect that they were the interference part.
Probably. That's a fair assumption. I think. Well, anything else you'd like to say about the show before we go?
I don't think I recommend it.
That's fair.
I guess give it a try, and if it's working for you, great.
Watch the first episode. If you like what's there, you might like the second, but I think the first one has the most actual substantive stuff. So whatever you want to get from the show, you get from the first episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. So you made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you thought.